Welcome to Finding Ourself, a podcast about the power of presence, connection, and the transformation that is only possible through touch. So if you're curious about human connection, somatic healing, or what it really means to belong, you're in the right place. Let's find ourselves together. Hello, welcome to another episode of Finding Ourself, a Cuddlist Podcast. We're your hosts. My name is Keeley. I am the Cuddlist CEO and co-owner, and this is my co-host, Michelle.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Michelle Renee. I am also a co-owner and the director of training at Cuddlist.com, and I'm excited for today's topic.
Today, we are talking about cuddle. I know this is a cuddle therapy podcast, but since we've been doing this 10 years, since the beginning, there is a constant conversation around why do you call yourselves cuddlers, cuddle therapists, professional cuddle? It is why not call yourself touch therapy or whatnot? And so today we're going to get into it. Why the word cuddle? Why not? What's the conversation been for the last 10 years in this industry? What are our opinions about it, and what it's all about, where it's going.
Yeah. I'm gonna out myself.
Always, please, always.
I don't live in many closets, and I don't now. But I will say that when I first became a cuddlist, it took me over 6 months to have my first client.
Okay.
It was a direct referral from Madeline, the co-owner at the time, the co-founder. I think it was multiple layers. I think a little bit was self-confidence that I could hold the space that I needed to hold as a pro. Becoming a cuddle party facilitator really helped boost that confidence. But some of it was not being sure how to come out of the closet. At that time, we were calling ourselves professional cuddlers. We hadn't moved to cuddle therapy.
Sure.
I don't know if it would have made a difference at that time for me.
Yeah.
It took a long time for me to even take on the phrase cuddle therapist. I think you and I had that conversation.
Well, we can talk about that evolution too.
Yeah.
There was a whole industry conversation around that.
Yeah, coming out of the cuddle closet was a challenge for me.
When you say coming out of the closet and owning that title, do you mean with clients or in the rest of your life, or both?
I'm not a cuddly person in the rest of my life, so that wasn't really the issue.
Okay.
That's another thing.
Or the perception, like you didn't want the PTA to know, or you didn't want, like, whatever.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a really great question. I have a lot of privilege coming into this work in that I was a homeschool mom. My kids were not in the public school system, and most of my 10 years has been spent working outside of the city that my children reside in. So there was never the question of what is the community going to think? So that was not part of that barrier. What was an interesting barrier was that at the time that I started, when I took the Cuddlist training, I had just launched a sex blog, right? Where I was doing this public diary of my exploration post-divorce in kink and polyamory. So I was writing.
And it was personal stuff. It wasn't necessarily
personal.
It was just your journey.
And it's not explicit.
Yeah.
But it was very sex positive. And I had a lot of personal internal work to do in saying the phrase that ran through my head back then was, how are people going to take me seriously as a platonic touch provider when I write about sex? Now, fast forward, of course, those are not the same thing. Why would they not? But this was internal work that I had to do.
And don't discount yourself even now, even today, how clear you are about the delineation between your personal and professional life, and how clear you are between the delineation of the different modalities, because you're a multi-modality
Mm-hmm.
person when you're doing what. It's still an ongoing conversation, and not everyone in the broader world understands that kind of clarity or
Yeah.
that kind of distinction. There's a lot of people out there who believe that you can't be
Mm-hmm.
anything but one thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
if you ever speak about any kind of sex ever, period, point blank, with anyone, it means that's what you're doing in your
You
therapeutic work. I'm like,
like
oh,
like I happen to be asexual.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sex repulsed, but you don't have to
Whole
be a
conversation
sex
we can get into there,
yeah, you
but
don't
in
have to
the
be a sex repulsed asexual to be able to hold platonic space with another human being.
right.
Like, but ultimately, I think what I learned in that situation was that I can't control other people's impressions of my work or the industry's work. I can do my best to help debunk some of that stuff. But ultimately, what I learned about myself was I had to do the internal work so that
Mhm.
I could, um, I needed to be able to have the clarity. And back then, I struggled with a lot of that. And so that played into my, I think, hesitation of coming out of the closet around doing this work.
So we have another episode about your and my origin, right, and the
Mm-hmm.
origin of Cuddlist in general. So it's our origin story. If your other people are nerds like I am in the superhero world, but for specifically today, as we explore the association with the word cuddle, you say it was like you had an evolution of coming out of the closet. How did the fact that the company was called Cuddlist,
Mm-hmm.
and the term for the work that we were using at the time was professional cuddler, how did that specifically impact that for you?
I think that has evolved also. Back
Mm-hmm.
then, I think it was really, I'd never done any kind of service one on one health related work.
Mm-hmm.
I really just had a lack of self confidence around holding space and would people gain some kind of benefit from working with me. I really just didn't trust that I had that skill set. So that was probably the biggest barrier. At that time, I don't think the word cuddle was my barrier. I think the barrier around the word cuddle came later.
Yeah,
And so we can start to talk about that.
I would agree. Honestly, actually, so my entrance wasn't through one-on-one cuddle work. My first exposure, and again, we'll go into it in the origin story episode, was through Cuddle Party, and that was my primer, right? My association as an adult, I'd always been a cuddly person. Again, origin story podcast, but um, so I didn't have the when, and I think we should get into this too, the association that many people have, that in adulthood, cuddling is synonymous with pre-sex. That's all you're saying. You're not even saying anything besides pre-sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the uncouplable, the inextricable tie between the two. I didn't have that because I was a very cuddly person in general, and then because my initial exposure to the world was in the context of a boundaries and consent workshop, there
Mm-hmm.
was such clarity for me on what the meaning of this was. The meaning inherently felt platonic, inherently felt therapeutic, because I'd had that experience that was so wonderful and cathartic and healing for me. I'd had that personal experience, so that was where I was coming in. But I also, revealing something about myself, I'm a little bit in personality, how do I say this? I like alternative stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was a musical theater kid, and so you have to be a little bit weird or alternative in order to be a musical theater kid. Like I always liked I had a emo phase. I had a metal phase, and so I had a Harley Davidson phase. I was always a little bit like on the outskirts of mainstream things, and so I think it appealed to me something. Maybe there's like a little shit kicker attitude in me somewhere, of when I started telling people about this work, they'd say, "What do you do?" I'd say, "I'm a professional cuddler," and the reaction that I got, oh, I fed off that because it was shock or surprise or curiosity. What I knew is that it always led to a conversation. It was a conversation starter. And I wanted to talk about this. I was so passionate and so excited about it, and I wanted to educate people about it. Now at this age, at this era, 10 years later, I'm like, I've got a lot of free education. Let me link you to the stuff that I've said about 400 billion times, and then new conversations I want to have and continuing on. But I loved that it was a conversation starter because it was very new, very different. People didn't know what you meant. They were very curious. They're like, oh, is that salacious? Oh, what is that? And so I loved that piece of it. But what I also want in the beginning, right? So I got into this work in 2015, and then I was the director of a conference for these workers in 2017, 2018, Cuddle Expo. And one of the conversations that we were having at that time was, oh, do we still want to call it cuddling? Like, why don't we call it therapeutic touch? Why don't we call it something else? And there were a couple of schools of thought there that I liked and I resonated with, and then it evolved into my opinion now. And some of the schools of thoughts at that time, if you kind of remember the zeitgeist conversation, was that's where it originated. This is how it has started. And so to shift gears now would be a pretty intense industry brand change, and there's tons of people doing it. So it's not like it's a small brand, it's an industry brand thing. And there are some benefits to it. Some of the benefits of calling it cuddle therapy are, well, it's not a protected term, or at the time, professional cuddling. It gets people curious about it. And there is a way in which, if you're trying to distinguish something as approachable, but also non-sexual, in many circumstances, cuddling is a shortcut there, because who do you cuddle with? If you've got a bunch of pillows and stuffed animals around, that evokes, in many circumstances, with many type of people are not a monolith, it has different connotations with other folks, but it can feel more cozy. It can feel more innocent. I'm going to put big old air quotes around that, but it can convey that platonic nature of it. Now, of course, we know that that's certainly not everyone's association, but it was an in.
Yeah.
Tell me about at that time, around that era, if you remember those conversations and what your take on them was.
I was not at Cuddle Expo, so I was not part of that.
Right.
But I will say, I think the complication, I think you hit on it. While I saw it as wholesome, non-sexual,
Right.
my clients did not. And in that era, I was living in West Michigan. As a company, we were marketing on Craigslist, which was still an upgrade to where some of the other cuddle places were trying to find clients, right? Like
I remember people, if you remember Backpage, I remember people advertising on Backpage.
I had an ad on Backpage before it came down. So there's these moments of looking back and going, well, of course we were running into curiosity seekers who, sometimes I call them looky-loos, right? They come in back then and they're like, I want to see what else happens here. Right? It was exhausting. The ick factor of how I felt as a professional at the end of a session, where back in the day, I used to regularly joke that I offered professional tease and denial.
Ooh, okay.
Because I was not asking the question, are you seeking platonic or are you settling for platonic?
What a good question also. That question for me came into my world with Madeline. It's like, are you searching for this thing by name explicitly for its function, or are you settling for it? It's such a powerful question.
Yeah, I mean, my intake process has changed over time, so that I'm getting the clients that are in alignment with what I offer.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was a lot of pushing through sessions,
Mm.
hoping that the client, I had this kind of mentality of if you just tried it, you might see the benefit in it. But they really couldn't show up for what I was offering. So there was this constant battle of, but this is what I'm offering, but you're wanting something very different. And it was exhausting, like I said, icky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I never had a repeat client.
Mm.
I just wanted to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think we see this with new practitioners often. This, I just want to do the thing, and it's this. At least for me, it was this idea that if I can offer them something they didn't know they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of change their mind,
Mm. I'm gonna
right?
I'm gonna call out this trope. You know what this is sounding like to me?
I can change
And
him.
yeah, I can fix him. I can.
Mm-hmm.
This is sounding like the fix him trope in dating. Oh yikes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I get it. I can't say that I was much different in the beginning, and I think the industry was figuring itself out as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we has had firmly standing on our own 2 feet, established, standing in our autonomy and power, the fact that we were different. I think that some people at the beginning were really wondering whether or not we were sex work light.
Mm-hmm.
We were just like the Diet Coke of sex work. And I don't think we are. I think we're an equal and adjacent industry, right? But it's categorized as having very unique hallmarks, right? There are um, benefits to all, and we do something just that is different. And so for me, it's less about the important comparison or distinction, really, and about clarity of what this is. And I think that saying cuddle at the beginning, there's some benefits to it feeling approachable and not so sterile
Mm-hmm.
or sanitized. What I don't think that we had the words for yet to point to is that this industry is relational.
Mm-hmm.
And if people aren't because people aren't familiar with what that word means or what that term means, you and I, now that we're so adjacent and so present in the psychotherapy world, we go to psychotherapy conferences all across the United States. We partner with therapists, so we know their lingo, we know their jargon, we know how to fit into that world. But as we've grown in being able to speak therapy speak, we've also found challenge in, okay, now that we know how to fluently speak therapy speak in a academic way, we still have to maintain that approachability, that accessibility to people who aren't interested in being therapized. Like, that is off-putting. They want to have access to the kind of support, healing, comfort, uh, uh, care that we offer without it sounding like they have to go to therapy, because therapy still is stigmatized, right? And so the evolution of calling ourselves cuddle therapists, I think also is interesting, because I think
Mm-hmm.
what it successfully does, saying cuddle therapist, it adds that one more step of clarity in the title of, like, this isn't a smokescreen for sex work. We're not just doing diet sex work. This is a therapeutic modality on its own. But while it's one more step firmly planted in that camp, it's also one small step further away from some accessibility for people
Mm-hmm.
who aren't interested in therapy's off-putting to them. And I want to be accessible to those people, because oftentimes those are the people who, one, need us the most, need this kind of support the most, and who um, get are wonderful in their discovery of what this is. Like, they end up being wonderful clients and can be wonderful clients because the other traditional talk therapy models haven't really worked for them, because they needed something more integrated, more somatic, and more relational. And so I don't want to exclude or be inaccessible to those people.
It is so complicated.
It is.
It is so complicated. And
We've
that
had
is
conversations for years about this stuff.
so what I have tried to do, and I don't know if this makes my if this helps or hurts my private practice, is that I've kind of run these like two lanes where I have my profile and Cuddlist,
Mm-hmm.
which definitely has a clinical slant to it, which probably is maybe not my best move, but it's the clients that I want to work with,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that this modality is so useful in so many different types of with different types of clients with different types of needs.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal joy comes the most from walking really difficult cases through what is in some ways a very simple offer
Mm.
with a lot in the background that people don't think about, right? So this is the difference between like, why would I pay for this? And we can get into that, like that's
Oh
a
God,
whole
the amount
nother
of
thing
skill
of
that goes
why
into
it's
this
so
work.
good. I would never go to someone who's going to cut my hair for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with in our work, right? So
I would also
let me finish this.
absolutely.
Yeah,
ADHD moment.
the other way I've approached this work is to have my private practice website not be focused around the word cuddle,
Yeah.
right? Because I see the usefulness of the space that we create in a cuddleist session.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually have to cuddle in a cuddleist session.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pick up the client that doesn't want to cuddle but could utilize this modality? I chose to straddle myself by having the Cuddlist profile and then having my website look different. I know, and I said this on a million interviews,
Mm-hmm.
the work looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
The work looks the same no matter how you come to me.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, in some of my work, it changes modalities or changes. We change boundaries at some point if we're going into deeper areas. But ultimately, I'm showing up offering the same thing initially in both of those spaces. And that's how I've chose to balance it. But it's not just there. I'm running that interesting push pull internally also of like cuddling seems so simple. The word cuddle is I don't think I feel like the general public doesn't understand the power of that space.
Yeah.
And that's my struggle with the word cuddle.
Yeah. Here's people have asked me what is good about it, and there is something that I will defend, a hill I will die on. Our work is so based in sensory experience in the body. We call it somatic, if people aren't familiar with that. But our work is hard to describe cerebrally. It's hard to describe intellectually, in that you got to use a bunch of different words because we're trying to use language, which is limited, to convey like body feelings, body healing, ephemeral and ethereal concepts of these types of healing, right? That is a challenge. Language is insufficient to do that. So we have to use language in unique ways to evoke sensation, emotion, feeling. And I have yet to find a different word that will evoke what I want people to understand about what happens in their body in a session. If I say cuddle, and I say, think about if you are cuddling, like when you were a kid cuddling someone, or when you have just cuddling, not because it led immediately to sex, maybe it's post sex, I don't care what it is, but that's not the important thing. When you felt blissed out, when you have felt so safe, so cared for, floaty, that bubbly, what we're talking about, you and I know, is oxytocin. The impact of oxytocin on your brain, it's what it's doing. It's that hormone, which is different than the impact of dopamine or serotonin on your brain. It's oxytocin. It's that floaty, I feel loved, I feel included, I feel blissed out. That feeling, the only way and the quickest way I know how to convey that feeling in another person's body is to say cuddle. Mm-hmm. That's the fastest way I know how to do that, because we are getting there. Now we get to that place a billion different routes. We have a lot of training in how to make it so that people can even get there at all. Right? And that's part of the consent and boundaries education that we do. It's part of the container building. These are all kind of industry terms to talk about it, but there is no more efficient way to evoke those sensations and feelings in someone else's psyche and body than to say, like, cuddle. And so that's the most effective way I know.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you, Keeley. I love when you talk about that, because I agree. Absolutely. And I think that has been the biggest challenge. Well, one of the biggest challenges as a practitioner in this work is trying to convey what it is that we do. Mm-hmm. Right. And short is good. We need to be able to do it in less than Michelle telling a story. Right? Like, that's not I mean, it's effective, but it's not a 20-second elevator pitch. I can say that, I provide, corrective emotional experience for my clients and, whatever, but like,
oh yeah. What are some of the different ways we describe it? I would say experiential relational somatic intervention. Mm-hmm. That's one
which is so clinical.
Oh gosh, sterile as all get. It's very accurate.
It speaks to our clinical colleagues,
yeah.
Right? And that's where you talked about, like, the difference between how we show up at a therapy conference versus how I might talk about the work to my neighbor. Yeah. We are in a really interesting place and time around this modality. My goal is that this modality is as well recognized in the therapy world as, say, somatic experiencing is. Mm-hmm. Right? I think we offer something really powerful and accessible to a wide variety of clients. Mm-hmm. Some of them will be in the therapy space, and some of them will be in this is really just good for me. I need this. I miss this. I might be in a short-term situation where, man, I can't go through this alone. I might just realize that my nervous system functions better in my day-to-day life with this kind of maintenance. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other end of that spectrum where this isn't something that is accessible to them, but they want to be able to access it, and we have to do some reparative work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many times have we had clients come to us and said something almost quotable to traditional therapy? I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I've had these bad experiences. I'm not doing that anymore. I need something else, but I still need the support. Mm-hmm. I've had so many clients come to me and say something akin to that.
So there's that idea, like, you need to niche and talk specifically to your ideal client avatar. Yes and no, right? It limits us. I love the fact that the word cuddlist is like the Kleenex of the professional cuddle world.
It's a double-edged sword. It's great.
It's a double-edged sword.
I love that. But when people who have not gone through our training, because we are unique. Well, we don't have to go into it deeply, but we do something that's called, the Cuddlist method is client-led as opposed to prescriptive. And just to very briefly touch on that, prescriptive is like if you imagine massage therapy, what part of your body is sore? Okay, I know what to do to fix that thing. I'm going to do these techniques. I'm going to use this thing, and you're going to lay there and let me do the thing. That's prescriptive and prescribing a thing. We do something very, very different. Our experience isn't, I know how to fix you. It's, I am creating a space, an environment, and you are going to take us with me holding, like being the bumpers to the bowling alley. I'm going to create all of this safety and space, but I'm not going to do anything to you to fix you because you're not broken inherently. We just need to get you some support, and I'm here to be the support while you get, honestly, heal yourself. I think that everyone is actually healing themselves with our help.
Yeah. We're helping provide a space for you to show up authentically.
And feel safe to do so. And once you feel safe to do so in this space, it becomes easier to do it. Once you feel what unconditional love feels like. Everyone says, like, you have to love yourself before you can love other people. I don't think it's quite that simple. I think sometimes you have to feel an example of what unconditional love feels like, especially if you didn't have that growing up, because otherwise it's really hard to conceptualize on your own. So if I can give you a space where you can start to understand and feel what unconditional love feels like, then you can start to model that, oh, that's what I need to be doing to myself. Oh, I can do that to myself. Oh, no, I'm not going to tolerate when other people don't do it for me. Sometimes the learning goes that direction.
Yeah, then you get to learn, this is almost a side quest here. Sure. Then you get to learn that, I read this in a book the other day and I went, oh my God, that's so well spoken. Love can be unconditional, but commitment is not.
No, yeah.
So like teaching you that to be loved by someone or to love someone, either direction, is only good if it's healthy, right? Like learning how to differentiate what healthy feels like is a skill set. And I do think that that's part of our magic sauce is we're modeling our own love for ourselves by honoring that relationship I have. Like, I love, you say, like, I will honor me, I will honor you, and I will honor our connection. If I'm not honoring me in our relationship, then that's not a healthy dynamic.
And there's a specific order to that, and it's intentional, and it is, there's a 1, 2, and a 3. It's not, I will honor you, I will honor me, I will honor connection, I will honor myself. I have to be the person to take care of me. I'm the only person who has the information to do that. I'm the only person who has the information of my inner world at every moment to optimally take care of myself. And I will also honor you and respect you, and then I will honor the connection we create. Like, it's intentional. There was something you said in there that I wanted to tease out and point to, see if I can re-get it. We were talking about, no, ADHD stole it from me, but I'm sure it'll come back to me as we continue to talk about all of this and how cuddling works. But going even further back, am I cutting you off from a thought that you had, by the way?
No, I just want to say, like, again, this is a space where somebody may not show up thinking that these are the things that they're going to learn.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the simplicity and the complication of our modality, is that there's so many interesting underlying things happening. And some people are going to pick up on them really fast and easy. And some people, it's going to be something they don't even realize is happening until they like notice themselves making different decisions outside of our space and whatnot. So like that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Does cuddling do that if you're not coming through a cuddlist? If you're cuddling with your partner, if you're cuddling with your child, if you're cuddling with an untrained professional because that's what you have access to, or it's cheaper or it's easier, it's not apples to apples.
Yes. Fully agree. There is a secret sauce. There is a magic. Is it simple? Yes, but it takes a lot of skill to get that simple and that clear, because so much of it is undefined in just average life. Like, we don't have all that skill. And the unique thing about this work, continue on the side quest and then we'll bring it back around, is that whereas a lot of other professions, a lot of other healing professions, it can be like those who don't do teach, in that like you can help other people do the thing and you don't have to do it yourself. You really can't do that in this work. 75% of what this work is is modeling the technique first. We have to actually master it, integrate it to be really, really good at this, to be really effective. There are people who haven't gotten quite there and can still see clients and can still do a pretty good job, and like they're not hurting anybody and it's great. But to be really good at this work, we have to do it for ourselves first. There's a within the therapy community, I am reporting their own in-community conversations, not like an assessment from the outside, but like there is a joking trope that some people become therapists because they can't heal the stuff in their lives, so they got to heal the stuff in everyone else's life, or like that kind of sentiment of like, oh, well, they're going to fix everybody else, but don't turn the camera back on themselves. Like, don't turn the work back on them. That's not possible.
We've heard story. We have people in our lives that have family members that were therapists that were incredibly abusive people, right? Like, and that happens everywhere.
That's not all. We have wonderful therapists in our group, but there's like a trope. There's like a silly, not a silly, but like a tongue-in-cheek comment in that community of like, you would think all these people who have all the knowledge of all of this skill would implement in their life, and it's not always. Certainly there's
we have it in our world too, and like I think what you said is like,
you'd be really good at
I think for myself, as I've gotten better at doing, I learned on the job, right? You're gonna, in some of these conversations that we have on this podcast with different practitioners, some of them came into the work already having done a lot of work on themselves. I am one of the people that I came into the work, I didn't have a clue what I didn't know and what I needed to work on. And I've been able to practice it on the job over and over and over again. And I have gotten better at it over the 10 years. And in the feedback that I heard from one therapist is, you must have done a lot of work on yourself to be able to hold the space that you hold. Absolutely. And I was not holding the same space when I first started. And that's okay.
I would hate to think about what my personal journey would have looked like if it hadn't happened in the way that it happened. Meaning, I went as a participant to a cuddle party first to get the foundational education about boundaries and consent and authentic relating, and then did an intensive as a recipient, as a participant of those events, working on myself first for a year, intensive, going to as many as I could. And it changed kind of everything in my life, because before that I was a chronic people pleaser. I kept finding myself in severely abusive situations because I would suppress my own intuition, my own boundaries, my own desires to support other people. If I hadn't gone that route first, if I had just said, if I'd come across this modality, it would have resonated with me. Go watch the origin story one, because you'll see why. If I would have just gone to go learn about it, as learn about it to do it, I worry. I hate to imagine what the beginning of this journey would have been. I don't even know if I would have continued. I probably would have gotten myself in such horrible situations.
I did a lot of icky stuff.
Yeah, I would have.
So I am that. I am the version of, I can tell you, I was not there yet, and I had to get there through the work. And thankfully, I had great mentors. I had the Cuddlist community. I am the first person to stand up and raise my hand and say, I fucked a lot of stuff up in the beginning. I was the person that had to test every piece of the code of conduct and figure out why it was there. I broke all the quote unquote rules, right? But I'm still here. I grew, I learned, I kept trying. This was my version of kind of recovery from a whole lifetime of people pleasing and putting other people's needs above my own. It was not pretty. Like, thank you, Keeley. I'm so glad that you got to come into this differently.
Oh, there's still a huge learning curve. I just had a crash course for a year, so I probably would have put myself in exceedingly dangerous positions just out of ignorance and out of pattern. And I'm glad I wasn't there, but I still had to learn a lot. Let's not pretend like I started this like where I am now. But yeah.
We all come in at different places. And that's what I think I really appreciate, especially getting to train new people in the modality, is that I come at it from a place of I had to learn it on the job. I think it would be interesting. I'm really transparent about that with people. And my hope is that they see that you don't have to have it all when you come into the work, but you really need to figure it out. And we're giving you an opportunity to do that through education, supervision, community, that I say in the first class, like, you're never going to be the same after taking this course.
Right. And
whether you're here for, we get people that come through just for personal development, and they almost apologize for it. And I'm like, no, everyone's welcome here for whatever they're going to use this for.
Wish more people would do that. This is really great stuff for your life. All the skills that I use in my work are what improve all of my relationships in the rest of my life. 100%. Yeah. But I do want to bring us back around to the word cuddle. We can tangent on this stuff. We love talking about this stuff for so much. But we talked a little bit about in therapeutic spaces, like when we're at psychotherapy conferences here's this thing that comes up a lot, that maybe I just like the fact that I have a podcast so I can get on my soapbox for a minute. So feel free to knock me down when it gets too old. But as we're in these spaces, right, I have two things happening inside me. One, I'm geeking out. I'm so excited to be learning different things. I'm excited. I love neuroscience. I love learning about all these different kinds of, like, it's my autistic special interest, right? Like, I am just eating it up. And the people who are doing revolutionary work in different kinds of cutting edge modalities, and I just adore it. And everyone's kind of got their own acronym. Everyone's sort of in the psychotherapy world. The markers of success traditionally are, have you pioneered a 4-letter word that you are debuting or teaching folks to revolutionize the industry? Like, that's kind of the thing. That's what people do. But the other half of me, and like, I eat that shit up and I'm excited about it and I'm ready to go and ready to learn. The other half of me sees the, like, how that is really for the other people in the room. That is so much of that is ego, and so much of that is, I want to speak to these other professionals and not necessarily speaking to any of the clients that they're serving, right? And so we've gotten direct comments about calling it cuddle therapy from some of the biggest names in that world. Some of the people who do the whole circuit, who get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go and speak and have books and have movie deals and have like all these accolades and have speaking tours. And those people, we've met them. They've had direct contact with us. They see Cuddle and they roll their eyes and say, well, I could never take that seriously. And my response is that because you are, like, tell me more about that. If you knew what the experience was for the client, if you knew what the science, because we are neuroscience geeks and we're putting that into our modality, we're putting that into the training of our modality, even if we're not using all of the academic words that we could, because we hold our own in those spaces. We know that we're just autodidactic, and we didn't pay $100,000 for an education, $50,000 for an education, which I get why people would be resentful of, but I can autodidactically learn all this stuff. I can Goodwill Hunting this shit all day, right? Like, and I love doing that. My autistic brain loves Goodwill Hunting this shit. I will learn that shit on my own. So I can hold my own in those spaces with the best of them, and I can explain to you in your language what is going on. But I am using words. I am using approaches because I am catering to my clients. I am not catering pretentiously to the professionals in the industry. I don't care about their approval. I care about the impact I'm having on my clients.
I'm going to go a little bit farther and say this. So the research says that effective psychotherapy is not about the additional modalities that the therapist has. It's not about whether they're bringing EMDR, IFS, AEDP, all these things, right? That does not matter. What matters, 90%, is the connection between the therapist and their client.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that connection, it needs to be safe, right? It is not about taking advantage of the connection, blah, 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 right? What clients need is someone to fucking show up for them.
To not engage in power dynamics.
Have positive regard. And be present and connected. So we do that in a cozy space, in a comfortable space, in a attentive space. I think the word cuddlist stands on its own. I think we could drop cuddle therapy. I think we could drop cuddle therapy. I think we could drop the phrase cuddle therapy, professional cuddling, all the different things that we think about. I think we're at a point where our brand could stand on its own, and it says it, but it doesn't say it. And I wonder, like, if it's a matter of we talk about what makes us inaccessible in certain regions of our country. I was just looking at the map today because I want to add some more. I work very remotely. Like, I pop into a city on a regular basis, but I'm not there all the time. And so I'm always looking, like, where do I want to add to? And I was looking at the map today, and I'm like, we are struggling in the Southeast.
Yeah.
And you and I have had this conversation. Yeah. Is it the politics there of the word cuddle?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
And I've never been so tied to the word cuddle that I can't adjust it or use something different in different spaces. I firmly believe, like, we're trying to use language. We're just trying to use language to convey a thing. And if it's not conveying the thing that I'm trying to communicate, then I adapt. I adapt my language so that I am the TCOM major, telecommunications major, like getting into the communication part of it. But if in different regions we need to call it therapeutic touch, done. If in different regions, one of the things that you've used in the past that I think is friggin' brilliant is nervous system coach. Now I have a complicated experience, a complicated relationship with the word coach. I think lots of people in the industry do, but like, we're saying the same. We're trying to convey the thing that we are, and there's a billion ways that we can do that. And if we adapt it in a different spot so that people can access it, cool. Reparenting. Yeah. Sure.
I have a word cloud thing of all the different terms I've used for my work, which also probably hasn't helped in my marketing because I'm a moving target of trying things on and setting them down. And
you're an A/B tester.
I'm constantly A/B testing.
Yeah.
And part of that is, like, because of, we haven't touched this part, the client's experience of the word cuddle.
Sure.
And what draws them to it, but then maybe is the reason they're less likely to talk about the work with their friends and family.
Right. A lot of what we do, this is one thing that it's like a shortcut to help some clients understand what this is and bypass some of the stigma. Because this is something that they can hold on to tangibly and understand. We're grief support. We're tangible, physical grief support a lot of the time. Everyone can understand. You go to a funeral, you go to someone who's had a loss, they need a fucking hug.
You're going through a life change. There's grief in everything around us. And I think that's where I think that is probably getting some people stuck in that they're not understanding that what they're experiencing right now is grief.
Right.
And so without that acknowledgement or support, so much of my work, whether it's in cuddlist space or in like the more therapeutic repair work that I do, is about going through the grief of the change, the loss of time. Like, let's say you had delayed something in your life, whatever, you can fill in the blanks. There's so many things that could fill in that spot. And then when you finally start to be able to interact with that thing, you realize that you lost decades of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
story.
Yeah, and then I'll circle back to how I've had.
Finish your thing.
I'll just say, nervous system coach came up because I had a potential client on a call with me say, I'm really transparent with the people in my life about everything I'm up to, and I'm afraid to tell them about this thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to do that with them and not feel the pushback or the repercussions.
Yeah.
And I said, tell them I'm a nervous system coach.
Yeah. I love that.
It's interesting what the meanings, right? The meanings of all these words are for our benefit and also limit us in so many ways. So that's my story.
Yeah. I love it. And for me, the story that I'm going to tell is about where grief shows up, and it shows up in everywhere in so many walks of life, and having robust support around it is so crucial. I'm just about, we've planned it out, and it's going to happen probably next week. We're doing a grief ceremony for the childhood that someone didn't have. There's traumatic events, and they've been holding for 60 plus years this grief of, but why wasn't it this way? Why wasn't it, insert your word, healthy, normal, affirming, whatever? And as we're working towards a goal for them to get to the next phase, that grief keeps showing up and keeps preventing or just impacting their ability to move forward, because it's unprocessed grief for the thing that they didn't get, for the loss of what that childhood could have been. And so we've decided, hey, let's have a ceremony for that. So people would call it like a funeral or a memorial or something like that. It's let's have a dedicated space to actually grieve this thing, because that's what humans need. Right? Humans need processes to have a safe place to put those feelings, to move through them, and then to build after that. So grief shows up all over the place in everyone's life. We are primed to support people in that.
I have a request, and I've said this request before, and you can cut it out of this recording if you don't want to put this out there. Mm-hmm. I really want to mandate that Cuddlists neutralize their marketing.
Mandate they to tell me, like, so they cannot say the word cuddle therapy anymore?
You could say it. I want our logo to be neutral.
Oh, sure.
I think it would provide, and I'm saying this on record, even though we've had this conversation before, in case you want to use this, I think it would provide a space for the practitioners to come at the work from the space that fits their community and their client base.
Go ahead.
We know what the word cuddlist means. Mm-hmm. And again, because it's like Kleenex, in the sense that it is well understood just from the name for most people. I don't know many people, even when I wear a Cuddlist t-shirt that doesn't say anything other than Cuddlist, kind of like the shirt that you have on, people know what that is. I've been stopped in places, and somebody at the beach the other day said, we need more of that. And I said, more of what? And he said, Cuddlist. We need more Cuddlists. And I'm sure this guy has no idea that this is an actual brand. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think it would provide some space for our clients and our practitioners.
I love empowering people to do the thing, and I'm also fine with just if aesthetically we want to choose to like keep the logo pretty clean and without taglines in a lot of places. My only thing is that I want to consistently, I hear what you're saying there, and I still run across enough people in my day to day who have not heard of this, who don't know about it, that it still feels important to continue to do the level of education, to continue to do the level of like consistent communication and marketing and clarity of what we do, that we'll simply have to brainstorm. It's a yes and.
Mm-hmm.
We'll simply have to brainstorm, how do we do that? How do we continue to do that in robust ways if we're not including like the tagline of professional cuddle therapy
Okay.
or a therapeutic approach to touch? So as long as we can keep doing that like serving that purpose, then sure.
What if we rotated?
Oh, the taglines?
Yeah. Like, what if we sat down and just came up with a whole bunch of different ones that we've used over the years, like therapeutic approach to touch. We could even throw in professional cuddling as in that rotation, cuddle therapy. All these, we have some future ones coming. And we purposely rotated them to help them become understood that they're all really the same thing.
I think that's delightful.
And then it'll be pre-selected that people, our practitioners, can have these things readily available to them, to take the one. I think it's permission giving.
Sure.
It's permission giving to our community to take the thing that fits.
I love that. I think we can also continue to let our the people who are trained with us know, right? That you are empowered to describe this work in the way that makes the most sense, because there's lots of ways to describe this work. And we all know, and just to reiterate for the folks listening, that Cuddlist, the consistency that you can expect, the thing that we to be clear about what this modality is, to be consistent in what the care that you're getting, it will always follow the code of conduct, and it will always have the three elements of the Cuddlist method, which are the code of conduct, client-led, and the opening agreement. So those things never change session to session, practitioner to practitioner, and the flavor of what happens in it are as unique as the people who practice. So as long as we're continuing to reiterate and make sure that the general public knows that they can expect those things, I love it. And then, we'll figure out, because if we're constantly rotating, what marketing materials do we purchase, intangible things that don't have screens to rotate? But yeah, I love that. I love
Again,
them.
the basic Cuddlist brand is
Right.
is a thing, and it has legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's I want to just shout out to, I don't know how they came up with this name.
It was Madeline. She
Was
wanted
it?
to convey expertise, and she thought of like violinist or pianist or something, like someone who is skilled in the art of, is how she put it, which I love. Skilled in the art of cuddling, and we know that it's so much more than just the physical act of cuddling. It's much more about the emotional, healthy connection between people. That's really what it is. It's about creating healthy relationships that feel physically and somatically supportive. It's and there is so much to say about what, and I wonder if, so talk therapy, right? People do all different kinds of modalities. There's CBT, there's EMDR, there's there's DBT, there's IFS, all these different modalities, right? And so saying talk therapy or psychotherapy is a shortcut, but it's not necessarily conveying all that someone can do. And I wonder if cuddle therapy could evolve to that, to that same kind of place. It's not there yet, of course, but I wonder.
Well, it's cool that we're part of I think a major part of the industry. The leaders. I'll hold the spot of, we are the absolute top of our industry.
It butts up against
Unapologetically, I will take that spot.
I love the inspiration of that, and I will try to continue to don that. There's a part of me that's like, that's not humble, internally, if I were to say that for myself, not at you. It actually gives me a lot of joy to hear you say that. But But yeah, I think that there's, well, but also what can quiet that voice down in me is there's responsibility in that.
Hmm.
There's a
Absolutely.
weight of responsibility in that, and I think we do take that very seriously. And if we want to, and that's also, I feel like throwing that weight around also ties back into the word cuddle. Um we've pretty much stuck that flag. We've staked the claim in the word and stuck to it for all these, decade, and said no, we're, regardless of the pushback, regardless of the muddled association, regardless of whether or not different industries hear that word and think professionalism or think I can't take that seriously. We've stuck our flag in there and staked a claim there, and I think that absolutely has shaped how it's grown, and I think it's moved the needle. And that's one thing that I appreciate that having the longevity of career. Now it's not a 30-year career, but it's a 10-year career, so it's not nothing. Having the longevity that we have and being able to see in slow but real time the shift, the cultural zeitgeist shift, the external perception shift between eye rolls to curiosity to knowing nods.
Hmm.
We've seen that progression, and I think it is hugely influenced by the work of the people who are doing this and advocating and educating and relentlessly, a day in, day out, communicating about what this is. And it does shift, and that does feel good.
If we weren't talking about it everywhere with the phrasing that we are using,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't be seeing the requests come in that say that it was recommended by ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like clearly
People are
there's
searching for something. People resonate with this.
there's traction.
Mm-hmm.
There's traction. I'm excited for the ideas that we have in navigating this, that I feel like we can do both,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like we can hold cuddle therapy in the word cuddle
Mm-hmm.
and make some add additions, not subtractions,
Mm-hmm.
additions of ways to help people access it in different ways,
Yeah.
with or without the word.
Here's something I'm curious if we want to get into, if we want to leave it for a different episode. Um, we've not talked about what it was like to adopt the word therapy from professional cuddling. Is that worthwhile? Do you feel like it's worthwhile to touch on that?
I think we can touch on it.
It was controversial in the beginning because most of a vast majority of the people within the professional cuddling at the time, this is around 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, 2019. And around that time, a lot of the people in the industry were so hesitant to adopt the word therapy, mostly because of fear of legality, fear of what, like, are they misrepresenting themselves? But after doing much more research, after looking at local ordinances all across the United States, after looking at, um, we understand that the word therapy isn't a protected term. We have hip
At,
hop therapy, we have equine therapy,
at least in the US.
at least in the US, correct.
Yeah.
And several places abroad too. Like I know it's psychotherapy is protected over in the
Hmm.
UK, but not.
Here too, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the word therapy is not a protected term. Now, we certainly couldn't call ourselves licensed counselors. We couldn't call ourselves, psychotherapists. Nor do we. I'll speak personally. Nor do I want to.
No.
I love that profession, but it doesn't accurately describe what I want, and I get the entirely wrong population of people coming in my door. It's not who I serve, right? It's not. It's not the people. What they would be disappointed in what happened here, or very shocked, or it would just be a mismatch. It's like if I called myself a mechanic, people would show up and be like, "Well, are you getting out of my car?" I'm like, "No, that's not what I do." It would be weird. And um, once we realized that there really wasn't legal implication, it helped a lot of folks be able to stand in the reality of what this was, the reality of what we were doing, because there was a split in the industry of people who were really trying to approach this from a very grounded, well educated, from a place of deeper authentic healing, from a place of deeper support through for folks' life and through the hardships of their life, as opposed to sort of like a luxury or novelty service. Like the way I liken this often to people who get a massage on vacation at their hotel versus sports medicine massages, or versus someone who has wants to work through some intense muscular challenges and change how they're navigating their life and their body and their world, right? Like physical therapy versus, kind of a luxury comfort service. Neither are bad. Don't take away my massages when I go on vacation. I want those. Right? Like, don't take that away from me. And so the people who are doing professional cuddling as a comfort or a luxury or novelty service, great. But it for clients to find the right place to go for the flavor of thing that they're trying to find, it did help for there to be a distinction. So some people calling themselves a cuddle therapist helped the clients find the right place to go. Because yeah, if you're not everything that is done in a sports medicine massage feels great. Some of it you have to breathe through, right? Like when my massage therapist is doing some of the intense deep tissue work, I'm like, okay, I know this is going to feel a lot better afterwards. And that can sometimes be how it is in session with us, and like this is really emotionally a lot, and I'm feeling this grief, and then there's the catharsis, and there's the really important movement after it, right? But I don't necessarily want that when I'm on vacation. I just want the comfort. And so too, some people are like, I don't want to work in this space. I just had a long work week. What I want is to lay my head in someone's lap and for them to stroke my hair for an hour. And I want to be in and out of sleep, just kind of dozing, maybe with some music in the background. That's what I want. And that's beautiful. That's important. But they're going to get a different service with those two places.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of my hesitation, I don't mind. I really love the phrase cuddle therapy. I hesitated to take on cuddle therapist.
Oh,
that was my hesitation. Because I didn't want to piss off the people that I get referrals from.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just the reality is, like, I don't want them to think I'm treading on their territory.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, like, I don't want to be the therapist, the talk therapist. I want to be a collaboration with their talk therapist. I want to be a supplemental modality to their talk therapy. And I was really concerned about if I was going to get a backlash. I haven't experienced, I tried it on. I think it was around the first of the year that we had this conversation, I think maybe in our advisory board or something. And you really, at least how I remember this, you made an invitation to try it on and just see what you notice. And I haven't got any backlash that I know about. I tend to stick to the phrase cuddle therapy rather than cuddle therapist, just in how I'll phrase things around, but it still comes up once in a while as a cuddle therapist. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm kind of just neutral about it at this point. I think it goes back to, like, when you're having feelings about something, it might not be external. It might just be internal stuff that you need to work through, and you're projecting it onto other people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we could change high school curriculums, one of the things I'd love to have learned earlier was that most people's outward displays are really just projections of themselves.
Mirrors. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm neutral on it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think I gravitate towards cuddle therapy practitioner
mm-hmm.
only because to some folks because I'll get asked, or am I a licensed counselor, or am I a licensed therapist? And I have no problem saying no. And I want to be really clear about that. I cannot diagnose or treat mental illness is one of the biggest distinctions that we have. I am not diagnosing or treating mental illness. I'm supporting people. I'm supporting people in their self-discovery, in their relationship reclamation, in their healing journey. Right? That's what I'm doing. I'm not diagnosing or treating mental illness. It's out of my scope of practice. And I think that helps people ask that question a little less, so it's a shortcut. But oh yeah, you can absolutely call me a cuddle therapist. I there's two sides of that coin too, because I also get people asking me whether or not I do erotic work, and it's just clarity, right? Like I don't get both questions are simply seeking clarity because they don't know. I don't get offended by either question, and I'm not upset by either question personally.
Yeah.
Just seeking clarity because they don't know.
Before we go, I'm wearing our new shirt that says Cuddlist, edgier than psychedelics. I think it goes back to our experience of being in these therapy conferences.
That's a new thing, psychedelic assisted therapy. You do not have to be a licensed counselor to do those things. Some organizations that are providing a certification in that, some organizations will require you to be, but that's on them. And there's a billion different organizations that are providing that. And so, yeah, it's a different thing. And if we're going to be, it's so funny. I worry that I cut you off, but in these spaces, it's so funny about that.
I'm like,
response to it.
Half the psychedelics on the market are illegal, and you're all flocking to it like it's a flies to like it's just so funny to have that, like, oh, like we're not doing anything illegal. Like, this is wholesome work. And we're treated by some people like it. How did I say it the other day? We are such a consent-based modality, yet the reaction of people walking around our space, like we're going to come out and attack them with a hug, which would be completely non-consensual,
right? Is
that the proper use of the word ironic? I'm not sure, but it's giggly. So I'm excited to wear this shirt to our next conference and just see what the response is. I probably need to order a few more just so I have change out options. I mean, I have a ton of Cuddlist gear.
Yeah.
But I kind of
on my list to order for our next conference, so that
I feel like this is the one I want to wear most. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And that's also, this whole episode has been talking about the benefits and the drawbacks of the word cuddle in general. And one of the drawbacks that we touched on very briefly, but it's like so many of our clients, we don't actually touch, at least not for a very long time. If I'm supporting someone who's trying to reintegrate safe touch back in their life after assault or after a childhood that was not touch friendly, or I work with a lot of neurodivergent folks. So how do we get the sensory experience of touch to not feel either painful or overwhelming? We could go months without ever touching. And therefore, and at that point, then cuddle therapy really falls short. Because there's so much pre-work and outside work before we can ever get to the touch piece that is required. Now, are a lot of people at that place and can jump right in? Sure. But certainly not everyone. So there's a huge subset of folks who we don't even touch for a very, very long time. Yeah. It's where it sometimes falls short. Language is hard.
And important. And I love the question, what does that mean to you? Right? Yeah. Just whether it's talking about cuddling or there's everything. What does that mean to you?
Well, good discussion. Love it. I hope people are enjoying it. I'm curious if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on any of the platforms that we're on. I would love to hear your association with the word cuddle in the comments. I'm curious what this, we take inventory and take stock of this every couple years, just in our own personal practices, but maybe this is a great spot to hear what people's initial reactions are. My request is to be gentle and kind, just like to not be, no hate speech or anything like that, but I'm curious what people's current, without knowing too much more, just what's your reaction to the word cuddle? What comes up for you?
I statements, right?
I statement. Yeah.
And if you're a practitioner, right? What is your journey with the word cuddle been like?
Yeah.
As a client, what is your feelings about the word cuddle? And yeah, I feel like I'm glad we had this conversation today.
Me too. Me too. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for coming back. If you've listened to us before, it definitely helps and supports us if you do subscribe and follow this podcast, because this is our way of making sure that more people have access to this. We talk all about the language, but this is also a really great way to give people access to what this can be for them, how this can change their life or support their life and support the things that they want to do. So thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, big hugs if you want them.
Bye, everybody.